Hello everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Nimafar and today we're going to learn how we can write letters in English. This video is good for those actually who are taking IELTS exams for the writing part, and generally for those who want to learn and enhance their writing skill. So first of all, let's understand the difference between formal and informal. When you're talking to a person whom you don't know well, or people whom you respect and are higher than you, we use formal language. For example, your boss, your parents, your teachers, your colleagues. Okay, your colleagues, maybe they are not higher than you, but you respect them. For example, your teacher, your parents, but for example, your boss, you respect him or her because he's higher than you or she's higher than you. Or people you don't know well. For example, your friend's friends. I don't know. Your father's friend, something like this. But on the other hand, when you know someone very well and you both are comfortable with each other, you can use informal language. For example, your best friend or friends, your classmates, your teammates, and so on. But now, let's talk about something that we should not, let's say we must not use in our formal writings. In our formal writings, we do not use idioms, okay? It's like you shouldn't use idioms if you want to have a formal writing. So, for example, you don't say hit the books, say you study. Or, for example, you don't say I'm under the weather, you say I'm sick. So, and the next one, use full sentences. Here, for example, it was a pleasure meeting you at the conference yesterday. Okay, for example. And don't use contractions, like for example, I'm, you'd, or doesn't, didn't. Don't say that. Say I am, you would, he does not. Okay? Don't use contractions. Next one, correct vocabulary and grammar and spelling. You know that. Don't use abbreviation. For example, don't say ASAP or ASAP. Say as soon as possible. Or ETA, say the long form, estimated time of arrival. Or, for example, CEO, Chief Executive Officer. Okay? So the full name here. And don't use phrasal words. Don't say, for example, I found out. Say I discovered. Okay? Or sure, I will find out. Say sure, I will discover, and so on. And use the passive voice. It's good. I have submitted the application. Okay? Just if you don't use it, is better. Okay? If you use passive, is much better. Saying the application has been submitted. That this is much more better. Don't use imperatives. Like never use imperatives better. Don't say like send it soon. For example, you're talking to your boss, said okay, I will send you the project. Say yeah, send it soon. Not good. You can say please send it at your earliest convenience. That could be better, or other replacements. We're just giving some examples. And don't use exclamation marks, like say you know that. Don't use exclamation marks, basically because it's not good. It's a bit rude maybe because you're talking to your boss, but you use exclamation marks. It's not good. But okay, imagine you wanna start writing your letter. For example, email, letter, it doesn't matter. We have something we call it opening or greetings. Okay, you start with dear. Okay, for example, say dear, title Mr. Mrs. like this, plus your the short name. For example, Mr. Brown, Mrs. I don't know, Smith, whatever. Well, actually, this is the one for. Another type is dear sir or dear madam. Okay, and another form that you don't know actually who's in charge. You don't know who you're sending to. You can say to whom it may concern. Okay. Then you can say thanks for an email regarding it. It depends. Okay, if they sent you an email before, you can say thanks for email regarding. Okay, or I hope this letter finds you well. Other things as well. And we have a reason or starting the reason you're writing this letter. Okay, and actually the one you want to start your letter with. I'm writing this email to inform you about. I'm writing this email to complain about. I'm writing to you regarding, for example, the project or other things. Then we have closing sentences. When you want to end it, you say, I look forward to hearing from you. Or you can even remove I as well if you want. Looking forward, you can say looking forward to hearing from you soon, or I look forward to seeing you to meeting you. After I look forward, we use to plus ing. Okay, I look forward to hearing you, gerund. I look forward to meeting you, to seeing you, to visiting others. And formal ending, you want to end it. It depends. Actually, in this part, it depends. If you said, dear, for example, Mr. Brown, okay, you should say yours sincerely or sincerely yours. I saw both of them. Sincerely yours or yours sincerely when you actually mention their name. But if you just said dear sir, or if you just said dear madam, or you said to whom it may concern, generally you didn't mention their name. You should say yours faithfully or faithfully yours, okay? So this is important. If you said, for example, dear Mr. Brown, don't say yours faithfully, okay? Because it's not good. It's like grammar. It's like you say she go, okay? Not that much, okay? So that's my serious. But generally, in formal writing, you should follow that. But maybe you're wondering the meaning and the difference between these actually, for example, Mrs., Miss, and Ms. So for women, we use Mrs., that's Mrs., when they are married. If you know they are married, okay, it's better to say like this. If you know they are married, you say Mrs. Brown, for example. Miss, the S sound, Miss, when they are not married, when you know that you're not married, they're single, you say Miss Brown. Or maybe you don't know. Maybe you don't know if they are married. In that case, you say Ms. The Z sound, the Z sound, Ms. Brown. Okay, it means you don't know. There is settled. You don't know whether or not they're married. So you say Ms. Also, now maybe you say, okay, should we use a period? Should we use a dot after Mr. or Mrs. like this? It depends. In British English, after Mr., Mrs., Miss, and others, Doctor, whatever, we don't use dots, don't use periods. Like Mr. Brown, nothing. Or Dr. Smith, for example, Ms. Miller, for example. But in American English, after Mr., Mrs., I don't know, Miss, we normally use dots. We say Mr. Brown, Dr. Smith, and Ms. Miller. Pronunciation is the same, but in writing, we just use that after Mr. and so on. But actually, even if we don't use or we use it, the name starts with a capital letter. Okay. Complementary clause. Okay. You want to say, instead of sincerely yours or yours faithfully, you want to use other things. For example, kind regards, best regards, respectfully, you can use. Or for informal, let's talk about informal as well. You can use with love. You can use cheers or take care or love, or I don't know, I love you, something like this. But these are not equals to each other. For example, this is not the meaning. They're not the actually definitions of each other. I just put them here, not in order even. But and transitions. Transition, for example, instead of saying but, like anyways, alright, I don't know, to sum up, also, or say so. There are better alternatives, options, we call transition. For here, for example, instead of saying but, you can say however. Anyways, nevertheless. Alright, acceptable. To sum up, you can say in conclusion. And also, moreover, or in addition. And so, you can say therefore. Therefore. And thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe.